So what's different about sex offender treatment and sex offender supervision versus standard caseloads is the approach in general is different. The offender population is very different. These offenders get sentenced, they get out, or they come from the court, and they have the standard caseload supervision conditions, but they also are imposed several extra conditions. Examples would be no contact with minors, no contact with the victim, sex offender treatment, comply with the sex offender registry, and assign to a group setting treatment.
In addition to that, we have polygraphs. With the polygraphs, they're used for maintenance, they're used for denial, and also for their sexual history. And the purpose for doing so is just, like I said, making sure that they are maintaining, following the rules and regulations of treatment, not only treatment, but also with the standard conditions of probation.
The main mission of the department, which is protect the community, rehabilitate the offender, and make the victim whole. But in this case, we can't make the victim whole. There's very little we can do to make the victim whole. However, what most victims do want is nobody else to suffer what they suffered. So our mission within our unit is no new victims.
Let's say that there was a minor child, their biological child. We have a system where we just make sure that they have a safety plan, so that the victim, which happens to be their child, does not feel re-victimized. We want to make sure that they're safe in that aspect. We make sure that the offender, we remind them very often, make sure that you don't have contact with the victim, because, we have to make sure that they're in compliance so that, the victim feels safe and they feel whole. And that's one of our missions within the department.
These offenders, when they offended, it begins much earlier than the actual offense, and there's a cycle that we have to look for. We work with victim advocates to help the victims with their own victimization, and frankly, a lot of the offenders themselves are past victims and have a lot of victimization issues. So that is part of their offense cycle. It's part of what they have to work through, because in order to make sure it doesn't happen again, they need to kind of get in touch with their own victimization or whatever trauma they suffered, that kind of led to their own offending.
What we base our success on for the sex offenders is how they do in treatment. Let's say the judge gives them a year of probation, but we notice that they've not been compliant, they haven't made progress, or in some cases they regress, where they're denying their actual offense. We go through specific measures to ensure that treatment is completed, but successfully completed. We don't want to just discharge you because your date was up, but you made no progress in treatment, or you did not admit to your treatment. We want to make sure that, this is almost like wraparound care. We include the courts, we include treatment, we have case conferences, we speak with even local police agencies. We do we go through so many different avenues just to make sure that probation is successful and that the offender is not likely to reoffend. That's really what our ultimate goal is in supervising these offenders.